If everybody can find their seats, please. Not you. All right, good morning. The time is after 8 o'clock. I think it's exactly, what is it now? 8:01. I'm going to call to order the Finance Committee for Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Can I get a roll call, please?
Member Cahill, Member Childress, Member Covert, Member Desart, Member Eckhoff, Member Evans, Member Galassi, Member Garcia,
Here.
Member Heather, Member Honig, Member Krajewski, Member LaPlante, Member Martinez, Member Ozag, Member Schwarzy, Member Tornatori, Member Yu, and Member Zay.
Okay, so I think there's any public comment today? No public comment for today. The chairwoman's remark, I wanted to let you know that as we consider today's Finance Committee meeting, I want to bring to your attention items 6D through 6I. These are budget transfers that the county clerk's office has made in compliance with the county finance policy and per the recent ruling in the 18th Judicial Circuit. Item 8L is a separate item. It is a request for an additional appropriation to pay 2025 expenses for the county clerk's office. If this board were to approve an additional appropriation, our finance department and the state's attorneys tell us such an appropriation can only be used to pay the fiscal year 2025 bills incurred by the clerk. It could not be used for any other purpose. So we have invited someone from that office to be present to answer any questions. As of right now, I don't see anybody here and I don't believe there's anyone online, correct? No. But we will continue to check in as we go along. So let's move on. I'm going to ask for a little grace today. I do not have my finance chair here or my vice chair here today, so I'll be doing a lot of reading myself. So please make sure you're clear that it's if you're motioning and seconding, because I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff myself here. So work with me, people. Okay. Not quite yet, but thank you, members A. Okay, can I get an approval of the minutes for 26-0320 Finance Committee regular meeting Tuesday, January 13th, 2026? Motion by member Heather, second by member Galassi. Is there any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries for the minutes. Moving on to budget transfers. Can I get a motion to approve 26-0386 transfer of funds from salary and wage adjustments to benefit payments in the amount of $1,000 to align the fiscal year 25 ARPA budget for benefit payments to ARPA funded employees? We got a motion by member Heather, second by member Zay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0417 transfer of funds from salary and wage adjustments, employer share IMRF, employer share Social Security to various accounting units as attached in the amount of $410,133 to allocate the remaining fiscal year 25 COLA per diem stipend, part-time help, benefit payments, IMRF, and Social Security following the compensation absences journal entry within the various departments currently budgeted within the general fund special accounts. Got a motion by member Heather, second by member Evans. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0436 transfer of funds from contingencies to software in the amount of $207,000 for the implementation costs for the new payroll system for human resources? Motion by member Evans, second by member Ozog. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, may I get a motion to approve 26-0423 transfer of funds from statutory and fiscal charges and IT equipment capital lease to software in the amount of $1,110 for the county clerk for the elections? Motion by member Yu, second by member Ozog. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0422 transfer of funds from instruction and schooling, advertising, other transportation charges, software and maintenance, and subscription IT arrangements to software in the amount of $8,102 for the county clerk for elections? Motion by member Heather, second by member Ozog. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0421 transfer of funds from wireless communications services, repair and maintenance auto equipment, rental of machinery and equipment, mileage expenses, travel expenses, dues and membership to software in the amount of $3,064 for county clerk and elections? Motion by member Zay, second by member Ozog. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0420 transfer of funds from furniture, machine, equipment, small value, IT equipment, small value, auto machine equipment parts, fuel and lubricants, cleaning supplies, IT services to software in the amount of $2,876 for the county clerk for elections? Motion by member Ozog, second by member Zay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0419 transfer of funds from statutory and fiscal charges and other contractual expenses to software in the amount of $1,078 for the county clerk for elections? Motion by member Heather, second by member Ozog. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0418 transfer of funds from furniture, machine, equipment value, IT equipment, small value, operating supplies and materials, food and beverages, printing, and postage and postal charges software in the amount of $5,928 for the county clerk for elections? Motion by member Desart, second by member Tornatori. Any discussion by this? Member Yu.
So I just have this quick question of everything obviously is going into software for the 1,422,054,107 line item. And then it looks like the total amount that's being transferred is like over $22,000. And then the amount is coming out to like 140,000. So I'm just wondering what software is it that they're going to be needing the money for?
Okay, we do have Adam Johnson, I believe, from the clerk's office to answer.
That's going to the electronic poll book vendor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Member Ozog.
I'd just like to make a comment that it does not appear that this was that difficult and really wasn't worth $300,000 of the taxpayers' funds for the legal battle that we've been fighting for well over a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ozog. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve 26-0385 budget transfers 1/27/2026 for various companies and accounting units? Motion by member Zay, second by member Heather. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to procurement requisitions, also myself. May I get a motion to approve 26-0438, a decrease in the PO 64991 serve issued to Ceridian HCM in the amount of $206,677. Funds are being moved to PO 649600001 serve on Actuate Consulting to complete implementation process for human resources. The motion was by member Yu, second by member Covert. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve FICO 126 amendment to county contract issued to On Actuate Consulting US Inc. to provide SaaS implementation services for the Human Resources Department to increase encumbrance by $206,677 and extend the contract through August 31st, 2026 for Human Resources. Motion by member Yu, second by member Galassi. Any discussion on this? Members A.
Is there a light at the end of the tunnel for going live with this payroll service? I know you guys have been working on this for a while.
Chris Clevenger is going to come up from Human Resources.
Yes, we are looking to go live April 1st with payroll. We do have a
Is that a
second.
joke? Is that gonna be April Fool's joke? Or-
I sure hope
Okay.
not. April 3rd will be the first paycheck
Okay,
coming out of the system. And then we do have like a recruitment and performance module afterwards. That's why the date is a little bit later because there's some other modules that are not payroll related that we're implementing as well.
if you could run the payroll backwards for member you and myself, that'd be nice. So, thank you.
Member Krajewski?
Just real quick, is this the same payroll implementation that was like a couple years ago? We were putting a lot of pressure on ROE to get their stuff
It's the
to us.
same system. Yeah, we have not changed.
So we had a deadline we gave them like a year and a half ago to get their stuff in, but we still haven't implemented. This is the same payroll system?
It is the same system.
All right, thanks.
Any other discussion on this item? All those in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Human Services and member Shorzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on 260350 HSP 7A 25, amendment to resolution HSP 725. Issued to Teen Parent Connection to provide car seats, diapers, formula wipes, and car seat safety training to increase the contract by $25,000 and to extend the contract through March 31, 2026.
Got a motion by member Shorzy, second by member Galassi. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move on HSCO 326, amendment to purchase order 79380001 serve issued to United Staffing Network Inc. to extend the contract through April 30, 2026, and to increase the contract in the amount of $25,000 to continue to provide supplemental pharmacy staffing for the DuPage Care Center.
Got a motion by member Shorzy, second by member Heather. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move on HSP 426, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Henry Schein Inc. for Alco Classic expandable deck beds for the DuPage Care Center for the period of January 28, 26 through November 30, 26 for a contract total amount not to exceed $223,904.
Motion by member Shorzy, second by member Heather. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Shorzy. Moving on to Judicial and Public Safety and member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to approve JPSP 13-26, a resolution to bond Conway Law Firm for legal services for the county clerk's office for a total amount not to exceed $200,000.
Amendment?
What's that?
Did you have to do an amendment on? it?
Yes, but you seconded. Okay, but we have to say all, do we have to vote on?
No.
Oh, okay, okay. So then I move to amend JPSP 13-26 to change the dates of the resolution to be the period of December 1st, 2025 through November 30th, 2026.
We've got a motion and to amend. Is there a second by who? I'm sorry, member Krajewski. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved.
Okay.
Now
And
go
then,
ahead,
Madam
Member
Chair, I make a motion to approve JPSP 13-26 as amended.
Got a motion approved as amended, seconded by member Krajewski, and a question by member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I just want to thank the State's Attorney's Office for getting us that explanation of what Bond and Conway do. That was appreciated to see exactly what they're being contracted for, but it still brings up the point that clerk's not using our procurement, they're not using our state's attorney, they're not using this attorney for contracts. So it, again, who's consulting them and giving them legal advice on contracts. So it's kind of a unique situation. So I don't know if anybody from the clerk's office would like to explain.
Does Deputy
that-
Clerk Johnson, you want to come up and explain about where you get your legal advice from, or he's saying No, he would prefer not to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, okay. Any other questions on this item specifically? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to legislative and member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve LEG P 000126, recommendation for the approval of a county contract to Lincoln Park Group LLC to provide consulting services as lobbyists representing DuPage County before the U.S. Congress and the federal executive branch for DuPage County's Division of Transportation, Public Works, Stormwater Management, and all other county departments and agencies for the period of February 1st, 2026 through January 31st, 2027 for the county board for a contract total not to exceed $96,000.
We've got a motion by member Desart, a second by member Yu. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Oh, aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Desart. Moving on to Public Works and member Childress.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on PWP 326 on a recommendation for the approval of an agreement to Trotter and Associates for design, construction, professional engineering services for Public Works for the period of January 27, 2026 to December 31, 2030 for a total contract amount not to exceed $792,899.
Got a motion by member Childress, second by member Heather. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on PWR 226 on the amendment to county contract serve, which has been renewed via resolution issued to Camaro Water Solutions for our liquid ferric chloride for the Knollwood wastewater treatment plant for a change order to decrease the contract price from $2.59 a gallon delivered to $2.52 a gallon, which is a decrease of 2.8%.
I'm sorry, we got a motion by member Childers, second was by member Zay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Chair.
member Childers. Moving on to technology and member Covert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval on TECO 001-26, amendment to purchase order issue, serve issued to SHI International Corp. Inc. for the annual licensing of the Zendesk customer service solution and annual subscription for information technology, GIS and DuPage County Health Department to increase the contract in the amount of $34,588.80, resulting in an amended contract total amount not to exceed $604,321.88.
We got a motion by member Covert, second by member Yu. Is there any discussion on this item? Member Desart.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why the increase.
Anthony from IT coming up.
Good morning, Member Desart.
Good morning.
The increase is to add additional functionality to the application. Specifically, there's some AI components and automation that we're adding to the application.
And that additional functionality wasn't foreseen in the original contract?
It wasn't. So
Okay.
it's mainly new things that have come about by the vendor over the past year. So originally, we weren't clear on if we wanted to move forward. We're actually working with community services, some other different agencies to try to help automate some of their existing processes.
Mhm.
And this technology will help with that.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the question, member Desart. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Anthony. Member Covert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval on TE-P-1-26, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Excella Inc. for managed application services to provide support with permitting software for the Building and Zoning, Transportation, Stormwater, and Public Works Department for the period of February 21st, 2026 through February 20th, 2027
for a contract total not to exceed $203,674.38, exempt from bidding, not suitable for competitive bids.
Motion by member Covert, second by member Zay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval on TE-P-2-26, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc. to provide maintenance and technical support for the county's enterprise GIS software for information technology GIS division for the period of March 9th, 2026 through March 8th, 2027, for a total contract amount of $206,595, not suitable for competitive bids.
Motion by member Covert, second by member Zay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Covert. Going on transportation, member Ozark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry to report I only have 2 items today. I move for approval of 260176, amendment to resolution DTP 1723, issued to Fastenal Company to furnish and deliver maintenance, repair, and operating supplies as needed for the Division of Transportation to increase the encumbrance in the amount of $20,000, resulting in an amended contract total amount of $95,000.
Motion by member Ozark, second by member Yu. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move for approval of DTR 126, awarding resolution issued to Clean Cut Tree Service Incorporated for the 2026 tree removal project for advanced work for various planned transportation projects for an estimated county cost of $74,470 per lowest responsible bid.
A motion by member Ozark, second by member Tornatori. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Ozark.
Thank you.
Back to finance resolutions. I make a motion, or may I get a motion actually to approve FIR 926, authorization of memorandum of agreement and extension of contract with American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, Council 31 for Human Resources. I believe we have a motion by member Heather, second by member Desart. Question by member Schwarzy.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment. This is for our DuPage Care Center workers. That's correct. And
I'm seeing yes. Yes.
and so I just wanted to thank, I don't know if the ad hoc collective bargaining committee participated in these discussions, but thank you to them. Thank you to the staff for getting this worked out and getting an extra year on their contract. So good thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the nice comment. Member Schwarzy, any other discussion or comments on this? Okay, any all in favor of this? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve FIR 002226 resolution approving the sale of inventory from the County of DuPage on behalf of the DuPage County Sheriff's Office to the City of Berwyn. Got a motion by member Evans, second by member Zay. Any discussion on this? Member Krajewski.
Do we just cut our own deal with the city of Berwyn, or do we go out and solicit? Do we know? Or did the sheriff's office go out and solicit?
Okay, Executive Director Zerwin, are you online? Did you hear the question? Okay.
This is Deputy Building. Oh,
Dan.
hi, good morning. So this was actually done through the ETSB, member Krajewski. I don't know how it came about with that, but that was a deal that was done through the ETSB. This went through the board multiple times prior to this to talk about this because we had to get funds to purchase the new radios because these were at end of life. So that was something that was worked out through the ETSB.
Yeah, okay, appreciate that. My question was, did we solicit bids for it, or we just make a deal with the city of Berwyn and just give it to them?
Got Nick coming up.
We can get the exact answer for you before board.
Yeah,
Being another government entity, it wouldn't have been a bid, but we will verify with Executive Director Zerwin.
I mean, how do we know that other government entity wouldn't give us more?
We'll make sure that Linda's here.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions on this? Oh, Linda is online now. Executive Director Zerwin, do you have a
Yes.
answer to that?
Yes, so we made it available to agencies looking for
the 7,000 series and the Apex 4,000 series, the value is based on what we can get at market value from third-party vendors and research through product. Does that answer your question?
Not really. I mean, was the city of Berwyn the only one that called, or do we have multiple agencies call when you put it out, or?
We have multiple agencies interested. They were just the first one coming through.
Why wouldn't we explore the other agencies that came forward, just give it to the first one? Somebody else may have paid more, another agency may have paid us more.
No, it's not a bidding type of thing. It's what the value they can get on the street.
Yeah, but if I had another city say, I'll give you 10 grand, they only want to give you 5, why wouldn't I just see what they offer? Or you just get a third party, and that's what you get a valuation, and then you just sold it to the first one that gave you that valuation.
There's over 400 radios, so this was the highest price we could get at the time. When we approached the board about replacing these radios, I believe in the memo it talked about the value of these radios at that time.
So from what I'm understanding, this is the highest value you could have gotten for the radios, and you took the first people who were interested. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Member DeSart.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the first to say I'm so glad we recycle our old equipment by, in this case, selling it to another governmental agency. But Deputy Billadu said something interesting. He said they were end of life. So if they're end of life for us, if I were Berwyn right now, I wouldn't be happy to hear that they're end of life. Explain.
Executive Director Zerwin, I mean, does end of life mean that they still have a couple more years, or what does that mean?
In Motorola's terms, end of life means they no longer sell it. The end of support is 2030. When we discussed this at the board meeting and with the memo we prepared, I told you it was a business decision that you could replace these radios now under the 47% discount that we had with Motorola on our final purchase order, or you could wait till 2030. At that point, you wouldn't have the same purchase power because you would only be buying roughly 400 radios at that time. And that's when the board voted to go forward with replacing these radios. Thank you, Linda.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Executive Director. Any other questions on this? Okay, then all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve FIR 002326 additional appropriation for the law library? This is for the in the amount of $227. Okay, we're on a roll call, really? No. Okay, we got a motion by member Yu, second by member Heather, joke by member Zay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, may I get a motion to approve FIR 002426 acceptance and appropriation of the ILDCO Community Services Block Grants, CSBG. This is for a program year intergovernmental agreement. This is in the amount of $1,371,680 for community services. We got a motion by member Schwarzy, second by member Yu. Any discussion on this item other than yay? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, may I get a motion to approve FIR 002526 additional appropriation for the Aging Case Coordination Unit Fund for Program Year 26 for Adult Protective Services Technology Modernization Grant. This is in the amount of $11,160 community services. The motion was by member DeSart, second by member Galassi, I believe. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve FIR 002626 abatement of the Special Service Area Number 31 2025 tax levy in the amount of $1,586,687. Motion by member Evans, second by anyone? Member Tornatori. Any discussion on this? Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I just get a little bit more information on this? Because I see the tax levy was, it was like over $200,000 and then we're abating. The abatement is, or $2 million. So the abatement's pretty high. What was why was there such a big tax levy and then such a big abatement?
So this is a special service area. There is a senior center in Naperville called Monarch Landing.
Mhm.
And the special service area covers that. They paid all the infrastructure costs.
Okay.
So when we issue the special service area bonds, there is a fixed payment due every year. But we abate only the amount that is attributable to the expenses that were incurred for Monarch Landing. So
Okay.
that's why you see this abatement every year.
So was that, I know there's like a wetland and there's some natural areas. Is that what it's paying for?
I'm not familiar with the area,
Okay.
what is exactly going on out
Okay.
there. We can get you an update on.
Yeah, I'm just curious
yeah.
why,
He's just dating me a little bit. I was here when they did Monarch Landing.
yeah.
This has to do with the infrastructure for the overall development. You had roads, you had sewers, you had water, you had everything that was like common infrastructure as part of that conduit bond.
So this is basically on track then? I just want to.
Yeah, everything is absolutely, everything is how it's supposed to. I mean, we do this every year
Okay.
going forward.
I wasn't sure if that was more or less than what we were expecting. So, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Member Krajewski?
And you pay whatever the bond payment is and the rest is abated.
Correct. Based on the expenses that's
Right,
occurred.
right. So the property taxes kind of gone up a little exponentially compared to what we projected at the beginning. Everybody's raising the property taxes, and so we're collecting a lot more in the SSA. It was only put in for the infrastructure. So you pay the bond.
Yeah.
And this is a bond. I know Member Kate will ask, one that's got a prepayment bond.
Well, we reduce the principal and interest on the bond by only the amount that's
And
incurred.
then whatever's
expenses.
excess, we abate
That's what the Monarch Landing pays.
back, right?
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? All those in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve FIR 002826 authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $5 million in additional funds for the general fund to the county's infrastructure fund for fiscal year 2025 for campus flood protection. And a motion by member Desart, second by member Ozog. Any discussion on this, member Zay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next items 8G through 8K, we are just not authorizing any work or anything. We're just putting them into those funds, right?
Correct.
We're not approving any contracts. We're not doing anything else.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve FIR 002926 authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $4 million in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund for fiscal year 2025 for the Elmhurst Quarry Control Facility. Surplus item. Motion by Desart, second by, we'll give it to Zay just because it's stormwater. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve FIR 003026 authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $3 million in additional funds from general fund to the county infrastructure fund for fiscal year 2025 for facility management projects. Surplus item. Motion by member Yu, second by member Honig. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. May I get a motion to approve FIR 003126 authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $1 million additional funds from the general fund to the county's infrastructure fund for Hinsdale Lake Terrace programs for 2025. We got a motion by member Ozog, second by member Honig, member Desart. Whatever. All those in favor, is there any discussion, first of all? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve FIR 003226, authorization to transfer an appropriate amount not to exceed $11 million in additional funds from the general fund to the DuPage Sustainability Fund for the fiscal year 2025 for sustainability initiative surplus item. Got a motion by member Tornatori, second by member you. And then we have a lot of discussion here. Okay, so first up I saw was member Eckhoff.
My first question is, why can't we abate some of this back to the taxpayer when we abated the tax levy on 8F? Special service area.
Nick and Jeff coming up to answer that. This is what we talked about and got a consensus on last time.
So as far as surplus goes, keep in mind, these are 2025 funds. So if you abate, it would come out of 26 funds. But as far as, why you could do the special service area abatement.
Nick, I didn't understand what you just said.
All right. So we are dealing with 25 surplus. That's what we have. So at this point right now, if you abate, it's going to come out of the 26 budget. So you as a board can abate anytime you want to, but you're not going to be abating this money. You're going to be abating, it has to come out of the 26. Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, why can't we adjust the tax rate that we passed since the final tax bills aren't out yet? I mean, I hate to tempt Mr. Zay to ring the bell, but when I was with the city of Whedon, we jacked up the tax rate every year in the fall because there was a law saying, thank you, that we had to, that we could only go up the rate.
You as a board can set whatever. What I'm telling you is, if you change the tax rate, it will affect the 26 budget. So that, I mean, you as a board can vote however you want to, but it will affect the 26 budget. This is 25 surplus we're talking about.
But if the budget goes down 5 million, we've got it covered because we've got 5 million more this year.
But then you have an unbalanced 26 budget.
And I would think that this discussion should have happened during the budget discussions back starting in September.
It did come up I talked about abating taxes back then, and so did Ms. Cronin Cahill. So, and I guess, I don't know, I just remember doing it in other taxing bodies. I think we need, so the money goes into this fund and it just sits there?
It goes into this fund, and for the board then to appropriate later throughout the year. It's part of the 26 budget.
No, I mean,
I mean, keep in mind, this is what's considered an enterprise fund. So the funds stay within this thing. Typically, I mean, this board has done abatements previously, but they're part of the budget process in the fall.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that this fall, we need to take a look at abating taxes. We've got a tax fund that, or the reserve is what, 61%?
It's about 109 million right now.
Of the operating, and as I said.
No, 60, it's not 61, it's 47. If you were to roll in, when we said all of this surplus, if you rolled in, it'd be 60 something, but you are like 47%, I think, right now.
Well, what I said before is I thought 25 was appropriate. That's what I had always learned during 30 years in government service. So I just think we're accumulating too much money into our funds, and that at least, maybe I'm saying for the next budget year, we need to abate some of this because we're just holding on to too much money. And I know it's only $5 per family getting the abatement, but I think it's the principle of the thing that we need to say we're looking at our tax rate first, we're looking at the taxpayers first, and we're not just going to keep sacking this money away in special funds to be allocated at some point in the future.
All right, thank you, Member Eckhoff. Moving on, did you still have a question, Member Krusky? Okay.
Thank you. So this is 11 million going into sustainability fund. I have no problem. That's an enterprise fund. And are there sub buckets in those funds? There are in that enterprise fund already. And I think we have certain monies from prior years set in different buckets. So is this 11 going into like a big bucket and then later on it's dropping into smaller buckets or?
So
It's just-
sustainability is one fund. Within it is there's.
Okay, what's the name of this big fund?
Sustainability Initiative Fund is the big bucket.
Okay,
And
well, that's
within
where it's
that, you
going.
have food insecurity,
Trying to
affordable
what's in there.
housing.
We can add
community
more in there.
sustainability.
I'm just wondering if it's just going into the top and then it'll be later on determined, we're gonna put some in affordable housing, some in food, some in economic development, whatever these sub buckets are that we create, or is this?
We're not going to create the sub buckets. I mean, I want to make sure, I mean, it's
So we already-
one fund, but we account for it.
Okay,
within
so
the
it's
fund.
one fund, but we have food and.
Yes.
Okay.
We know exactly
So
how
there's
much.
no sub buckets, it's just that all these different things
Correct.
are in community sustainability. It could be, remember the SARD members, small business grants or whatever that they want to do. So this is just anything for the community.
This is a big
It's
fund.
one big bucket. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Ozark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We can talk about this in November and talk about abatements, but we have no idea what's going to happen between now and November. And just today, when we approved the $1 million grant for community services from the federal government, my first thought was, I'm glad we're still seeing this. We have no idea what's going to happen at the federal level. So we are in very precarious times. And to talk about an abatement, we'll have to see where we're at in November. We have no idea what we may be using our local tax funds for in the future to serve our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ozark. Member Zay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had two things. I want to agree with Member Eckhoff. Since we got CARES Act money, we got ARPA money, that was $300 million from the federal government. Now we have $100 million in surplus over the last several years in sales tax. That's $400 million. I mean, and I keep hearing that we don't know what's going to happen. And it's overtones of because the new administration came in. We're a year in with the new administration. How much federal money have we lost over the last year? Pretty much zero, right?
Yeah, I think at this
None.
point it's zero.
None. So, I mean, again, how much money do we need before we start thinking about, everybody has projects, do whatever. When do we start thinking about abating property tax back? And we did it 4 years ago. We did $5 million. I mean, we haven't even talked about it since. We did talk about it this year. We did not know we were going to have an additional $11 million in additional sales tax over the top of the 25 million that we had. Or I think if we had known back when we were doing the budget, we definitely would have moved to abate at that point. But again, uncertainty. We have gotten $400 million in the last 5 to 6 years in additional money that we weren't planning on. So, I mean, it seems like, like my parents say, we're crying with 2 loaves of breads under each arm. At some point we have to start thinking about the people every day that's property tax. And we talk about affordability and housing. I mean, what's driving seniors out? Because every taxing body goes out for referendum or just says, oh, we're going to go for referendum and just raise a $200,000 house for it's only going to be $80. Well, when 10 taxing bodies do that, it becomes a problem.
One thing I would I mean, I know that the chair felt very strong about this. The money in this are for the residents. I mean, you've got the food insecurity, you've got the housing insecurity. So that was the chair's initiative for the residents in this, but your point's well made, and that's a discussion for the fall.
Right, and that's again, a lot of us have questions on the loaves and fishes. I mean, we did get a nice thing here from Loaves and Fishes kind of explaining, but they're already grateful that it seems like we've already told them we're giving them $2.5 million. I mean, there's questions here. I mean, Loaves and Fishes, as Member Eckhoff had brought forward, they also supply, give their services to Kane County, to Will County, to Kendall County. We're not the majority there. We're actually we're the second biggest. Kane County's larger. So what are those counties giving? Again, we want to make sure, our job is to make sure our residents in DuPage County are taken care of, not that other people from other areas are benefiting. That's our responsibility, is take care of our DuPage residents and people who need it. So I think there needs to be a lot more explanation on that one and other things going forward. The one about the housing, the housing, we've had 5 million sitting there for a long time. We really haven't done a lot. We've done some initial things, but we really haven't done anything. And this first time home out buyer thing, I haven't seen any paperwork on that yet from anybody. It sounds like we're getting into the loan business, or we're just giving money away. And then how do we know who's gonna do that for us?
Well, the first time home buyer, I know that once this money is reserved for it, then the next steps would be to get a third party. It's a fairly common procedure out there. You go out for an RFP, for somebody to help administer the program. This board sets the standards of the program. That one is a fairly straightforward program, but you can't move forward until you have the money reserved for it.
Right, but again, there's a lot of discussion that still has to go into that before we.
Well, and this board is the one who sets the standards for it.
And if
Thank
I can add something really quickly, you didn't mention the CARES Act and the ARPA money and all that stuff. We've done some great things with that money capital wise in terms of our capital projects here on the county to help people in terms of our buildings that were needing help for many, many years. So let's make sure that we know that we are doing things that are helping all the residents of DuPage County with the things that we're doing here on our campus and all around. In terms of the affordable housing, we did use some of that money to house people last year. So so we have been using that. So, I mean, there has been some great things we've done with the money, and I just want to make sure that we're not saying we're just squirreling away. We're not
Well,
squirreling away. We have done some fantastic work with that.
There's many other programs in CARES Act and ARPA, the business, small business.
Correct.
I mean, we've done a lot of assistance with the capital as well.
Correct. So let's not lose sight of that. So, next person I saw was, I think, Member Galassi, and then,
So I just want to also add to what Member Zay said about the Loaves and Fishes capital project. I know we're not voting on that right now, but the conversations that I've had with the 3 food pantries in District 3, they do not see any benefit for that improvement. And I also have the concern, like Member Zay said, that this money should be benefiting the people of DuPage, and Loaves and Fishes is on the very outside, western border of DuPage, and serve many, 3 other counties. So if we're doing a capital improvement for them, are the other counties also, adding to that project as well? But I just want to emphasize, I'm hoping that the members of District 2 and, the other districts that are further from Aurora have also had these conversations, because the 3 conversations I had, they were incredibly frustrated that they had not been talked to about this improvement. And they just said, we are not seeing any benefit. PRC specifically said, we are a peer of Loaves and Fishes. They do not supply food to us. This is not like us doing a capital improvement for Northern Illinois Food Bank. That would make more sense to them. But she said, nobody's talked to them. They've gotten no communication. They view themselves as a peer, and they do not understand why they're getting a $2.5 million capital improvement and the other pantries are not. So I know we're not voting on that right now. I just wanted to get that out there. But secondly, I just want to ask a question, because I agree that we should be considering, at least in 26, depending on how sales tax goes this year, an abatement in the fall when we're looking at the budget. Does it matter if we're putting this $11 million, if we wanted to do an abatement, in the sustainability fund versus our general reserves?
So your abatement, how we did the previous one, and Member Zay actually, he was key in the last one. How we did it is we came in the fall, and then I think it was a $5 million abatement, if I remember correctly. And what we did then in the next year, we had 5 million less in revenue. And that's how we did the abatement. So the board approved it in the fall and factored it into the budget for the following year. You always have the ability, wouldn't be recommended, but you could take it out of reserves. You could do something like that. But if you guys vote on an abatement in the fall, it would come out of 2027 budget.
So just so I understand, does it matter then if it's in the if we put this
No,
11 million?
This will not negatively impact your ability to do an abatement in the fall.
Okay, so it wouldn't benefit us to have it in the general reserves.
No, you have 109 million in reserve.
all right, thank you. Member Honig is next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I definitely hear the concerns of my colleagues here for some tax relief. If we're just talking about on the basis of principle, I just don't know that talking about the principle supersedes the community overall benefit, because like member Dean Garcia said, and the commenter said, the things that we've done as a whole benefit to the county, I feel like supersede that. And, looking at the people that Loaves and Fishes serves, and kind of member Galassi brought this up just a second ago, District 2 and 3 kind of are on the farthest end of that. And, looking at all the, municipalities by the numbers, this will be a different question. I think I had the same questions of, it says residents served in fiscal year 2025 total visits. So I think, when we do revisit this, I kind of want some clarification on, is that like reoccurring visits? Is it based on family of how many people versus, district by district? I think that would help and give us a good sense of who's being served and the amount and the flux of that. But I think overall, I think definitely in the fall is a great topic of conversation for abatement. I just, when we talk about principle, I just don't know that, we should just do things on the basis of just doing it. And I think, we hear that a lot, but I do understand that, that we need some sort of relief for the residents. And I do think that affordable housing, investing in that, and also investing in food insecurity is that, relief that we're looking for and a lot of people are looking for. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, member Honig. Member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This isn't, I guess, the moment that we're going to have a huge discussion on Loaves and Fishes. I do want to say a few things though about this. So this changes the status quo if we do this Loaves and Fishes things. It changes everything. So the concern that maybe some of our areas throughout the county aren't being serviced, that's going to change. Maybe it's not changed now. Maybe they're not seeing that service now, but it's going to change. This changes everything. And I will say that many pantries don't have the capacity to be open for more than maybe 2 hours a week. This changes that. This gives pantries all over the county the opportunity to use this facility to store food. And there's the potential to have vehicles involved, deliveries involved, anything. Anyway, I will say this. So we abated 5 million 3 or 4 years ago, and I think remember Eckhoff said $5. I think it was closer to like $15 a household. The $2.5 million for Loaves and Fishes has the potential to double their usage, and I'm talking about DuPage County. DuPage County, so 175,000 visits from DuPage County residents. To answer your question, member Honig, 175,000 visits. That's 350,000 visits, that potential per year. That averages about $7 a visit per family. So we can give the $15 a family with a tax rebate, or we can feed our entire community for $7 throughout the entire year. So those are just some things to think about. And with regards to our government, not, according to members A, we haven't lost a dime. It's not for the lack of the executive board, the executive president trying. He's been trying to take stuff away. So he certainly, it's very precarious because he has been trying to take stuff away. And I also want to say, we still have over $3 million in our budget for food, for actual food that goes throughout our entire county. So, we have that. We will be working with the Northern Illinois Food Bank to make sure we get people food throughout the entire county. So people aren't going to be shortchanged because maybe at this moment, Loaves and Fishes doesn't, cover the entire county. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, member Desart is next. I'm taking people who haven't talked yet. So, member Desart.
Okay, thank you. So I understand that this is just putting money into a pot, not a specific appropriation. But I looked on the package for this and I didn't see what this $11 million is earmarked for. I think we talked about it when we were talking about the sales tax, but what exactly is the 11 million? Could you remind?
The 11 million would equal 1 million for food insecurity, 2.5 million for food infrastructure, 5 million for the down payment assistance, and 2.5 million for the community sustainability fund. And that last 2.5 million is for community services, WorkNet, depending if they're impacted by the federal budget.
So that 5 million could be used for, or not the whole 5 million, but some of it could be used for the small nonprofit.
Your 11
grant.
million can be used for anything.
For anything.
Within this bucket, for anything that you guys determine as part of the sustainability initiative.
Okay. And the other question I had was about abatement. I want to understand the term abating the taxes back to the community would just benefit homeowners, right?
Yeah.
Not renters, not, and a large amount of our overage came from sales tax. You know, so this would just, the abatement would just help people who own their home.
Correct.
True?
And the number is, what's that? Corporations too.
And corporations.
Whoever owns a property or a home.
So
But
while
the
abatement is a
the
great
number
idea,
of The 5 million is between the two numbers you guys said. I heard $5, I heard 12 or 15. It's actually more like, I think it was 9 or 10 for the average property at that time in DuPage.
so while abatement is a great idea for homeowners and corporations, it's the people who don't own their homes, the food insecure, who need the money the most. I just wanted to point that out in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, Member LaPlante, I think is next.
Thank you. I just want to bring up the food pantry issue and for, Loaves and Fishes and for all of them. So I'd made it really clear that I was asking for reports from the different food pantries, Illinois Northern Food Bank and all of them. So it would be just so much easier to answer a lot of these questions that everyone on this board has if we simply had that data.
And to your point, today's vote is not to vote on giving the money to a food bank. That will
I
be
understand.
a much more in-depth discussion down the
Right.
line
Mhm.
with that. And to your point, hopefully we can provide that. I mean, we're a long ways from bringing this forward, but this simply puts the money for this board to decide at a later time.
Right, and I totally understand that, but I'm just making the point and making sure it's on record. I've done it in committee and now I'm asking on full board to just give us consistent reports from the food pantries that we're supporting so we can make sure that we're setting aside enough funds and we're keeping up with demand. I think that's
And
a reasonable
something
request,
that I
right?
think Mary Keating is probably here or she's listening online. We can absolutely get all the reports for.
Okay,
her.
wonderful. So I just wanted to just say that clearly I keep hearing that. And then, I have, at the risk of sounding like a basic question here, but we're spending an awful lot of time talking about moving these funds. And I'm not really sure, and I think some of my colleagues share the same question. Why? I mean, couldn't we just keep it where it is and then use as necessary? Because this seems to be causing a lot of questions.
I mean, what you're doing is something we've done every year. If there's surplus, moving it in the appropriate place. And if you do nothing, it goes into the reserve fund. But if you as a board say, let's say the Elmhurst Quarry, feel that that is an appropriate use of our funds, then the departments can plan accordingly if it's in there. They can plan for that project as opposed to going to the board. I will tell you in the history I've been here, us going to the reserve fund is probably about 3 or 4 times in the 28 years I've been here. So it takes a super majority to come from the reserve fund. So this is more operational that you guys are putting it in. If you put it in a reserve fund, it usually doesn't come out of the reserve fund.
So in other words, this is just to have easier access. Is that what you're
You as a board
saying?
get to vote on every single item
Right.
on this. I mean, there's
Right.
nothing being decided on this one.
Okay.
It's simply putting money there to say, yes, we are committed. We want to move forward. It gives, I keep bringing up Stormwater Quarry. It's the easiest one. It gives the ability for Stormwater Department to plan and to move forward and to have that potentially there and to design it, as opposed to it being in surplus or being in reserves. And then they have to come and make the case for moving it out. But ultimately, this board decides either way.
Right. Okay, great. I think that's important. And then I know, we're talking about a lot of uncertainty. And this will help future boards and it will help, balance the budget in the future. I just want to say that, oftentimes we think about saving for a rainy day, but the rainy day is here. Thank you.
Thank you, Member LaPlante. Member Ozog?
Thank you. The current federal administration has only had 12 months, and I know we've all heard targeting blue states is certainly possible. We have no idea what's going to be happening in the next 12 months. That's just the facts. There is no way to predict what's going to happen. We also have to remember that we are an employer. We have no idea what's going to happen with healthcare costs, these ACA subsidies being pulled. We have no idea. We have a private for-profit insurance system. We have no idea what's going to happen with that. And we are employers and we have to pay an element of our healthcare cost. And finally, I think it's important to let's talk about a rebate in a non-election year, because first of all, the amount for property owners is minimal. 3/4 of your property taxes come from the schools. One of the reasons that the schools generally take their highest amount every year is because the schools are also employers, and their healthcare over the last 10 years has gone up exponentially. So these costs are costs that we have to bear for the services that we provide. And it's really important, I think, to our constituents that we provide stable government at the county level. And that's what we've been able to do for the past decade and a half. And one of the reasons we do that is because we are prudent with our funds, but we are also able to do community efforts like this. We can't predict the future. And if we get targeted as a blue state, who knows what's going to happen in the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ozog. Member Eckhoff's next.
We don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 months, so let's keep funding things that aren't our primary duty here at the county. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. My whole point that I brought up multiple times, not just last week or today, is that I think the fund should be about 25%, and we're way over that. So over a long period of time, we've added to that because we've had good government, good staff, and we've just pretty much done better at our sales tax revenue than before. But my concern was last week, and I asked for this information about how much other counties contribute to Loaves and Fishes, and I didn't get a response unless I missed it. So I sent out an email again on Saturday when I read the Loaves and Fishes report, and I still didn't get it. So when I looked at their webpage, it looked like there was a multi-million paid for by DuPage County, and I didn't see anything from Kane County or Will County. And then I get the report from Loaves and Fishes that shows that only out of the total amount of people that they serve, only 36% are DuPage County residents. Not even counting District 3 and 2, but the whole thing is 36%. There's 202,000 from Kane County, 175 from DuPage County. I think we've got a responsibility to our taxpayers to use their money to help them. And I think these other counties either need to kick in or we need to pull back on what we're doing here, because it's a great thing that everybody runs around and talks about food pantries, and we need food pantries and we need to help people that are in need. But there's 4 spokes in Will County and 2 in Kane, and the majority of their people are being served, not ours. And we're giving the money from the government. So how is that reasonable? How is that fair? So there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. I'm asking again to get the information from Loaves and Fishes about how much the other counties pay. This will be the 3rd time I've asked for it. And I think we've got a lot of thinking to do, but to sit here and say, well, we don't know what's going on, so we got to keep raising taxes and keep getting money on the front half and then give it out on the back half to people who don't even live in this county, I think is ridiculous.
So Member Eckhoff, the one thing I would like to say, you said keep raising taxes. I mean, the one thing this board has been consistent for probably the last 18 years has been you as a board have not raised the taxes.
Okay, I probably misspoke about raising taxes, raising revenue. Raising revenue is my point.
Member Krajewski, that should be the end of it, I believe, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Last comment.
Well, just a couple things that some of my colleagues said. I didn't want to get into this. I had an issue on that. But with Loaves and Fishes, I too, Nick, I copied you on, and I sent asking for the same information. Again, I haven't been responded to either. I want to thank Member Galassi, Member Evans, but Member Glossy's been doing a lot of work down in my district. I asked for questions similar to what some of these board members were asking. I didn't get anything back from staff. So I made a call, just talking to some of the other food providers out there in the county, some of the largest ones out there. They're saying if you have public money going out, there should be RFQs going out. They didn't see any benefit, haven't been talked to by pretty much any of our staff. They had a couple of conversations with Loaves and Fishes. They had a concern about the numbers not even adding up. They're like, since 2022, they've doubled the amount of food that they've brought in, but yet they've gone up tenfold in the amount of people that they said. So I went on the website and looked at Loaves and Fishes. 2022, they served 1,030 residents and brought in 4,522,619 pounds. 2025 report, a few years later, they brought in 8,664,382 pounds of food. So almost double the food. But yet now they're providing 10,000 residents. So they've gone up tenfold. That's off of their reports, on their annual reports out there, which is what some of the larger CEOs and some of the bigger food pantries in DuPage are saying. They're not sure how their numbers add up. Again, it's double the amount of food, but yet 10 times the amount of people. So are they just giving them a lot less? I don't know. But we'll get into the specifics of these later. But I think the bigger issue we're hearing about abatement. If we abate $5 million next year, our revenue's down $5 million, which means we have a budget that's now $5 million in deficit. We can take out of reserves, but that looks bad. Bonding companies aren't going to like you deficit spending. So that's why Jeff is creating, and staff is creating, suggesting all these enterprise funds they can be used in future years to be used for expenses out of the enterprise funds. Like I'd like to see an IT one. I know Jeff's got $3.5 million probably coming due over the next several years. I think the recorder may have new software. You can put it in there and that takes pressure off their budgets and allows us to do stuff. We want to abate taxes next year. We have $5 million in contingencies. We can monitor sales tax. I brought up 6-8 months ago, we had this huge surplus coming. We should have these conversations months ago versus today, because we do this every year. We've done it for like 4 consecutive years. We're at the end of the year, after the year, we're talking about what to do with surpluses when clearly we knew we were going to have them. So we had these things earlier. So if we want to abate, we got to look at next year because we don't want a deficit spend. So we just got to throw all this money into whatever enterprise funds we want to call it.
Which is what you're doing with
Right.
this.
And then we can move it. I mean, we can move it within those funds. We can come up with specific programs. We can, like I said, I remember the SART wanted maybe the small grants again. We can pull it out of there and use that to fund something. We can pull out, we had some software earlier today. We can pull it out of an IT or equipment replacement down the road. So just putting it in there. And then next year we can amend our budget, I guess, if sales tax continues to go above expectations. Yeah. We have $5 million contingencies, but we can address it like we should be doing every year, 4, 5, 6 months in. How are we doing? This is the time to do it. And we saw this projection coming, but we never sat down and talked about this until now. So I think the best thing is to get them in enterprise funds, whatever we want to call them. We're not going to spend it on any specific program. We can have those detailed discussions later. But I think we can't really do the abatement, although I'd like to, but just to say we gave something back, because we're accumulating a lot of money. We got to figure out what to do with it. So I'm fine with the 11 million. We got another 10 million to talk about, I assume, later on here. Yeah. But we just need to throw them into these enterprise funds just so they don't go into our reserves. We'll have a deficit spend when we bring it out. But then down the road, we can figure out where it goes. It takes 10 of us to decide.
So there was a lot of discussion on Loaves and Fishes. The one thing I would suggest, and I talked to a lot of the members over the weekend, last week, if you have questions, and we will make sure, get any of your questions to Mary Keating, and she's here. We will make sure Loaves and Fishes, I know you want to figure out what all the different communities, we will do that, but we will have a much broader discussion.
Is it to tell us how much Kane, Kendall, or even
we'll get that information.
It's a simple question. It takes 2 seconds.
We're going to get that information to you. We're going to move on now. Does anybody want to take a roll call vote on this or acclamation? Okay, I'm going to go with acclamation. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? One and no. Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on to may I get a motion for FIR 003626, additional appropriation for the general fund, accounting units 4200 and 4220 in the amount of $76,068 for the fiscal year 2025 for the county clerk. We've got a motion we need a motion first. Motion by Greg Schwarzy, second by Okay, member Ozog, and any discussion? I'm sure there is. Okay, member Galassi first.
I know this question was asked at the last board meeting when this came up about the clerk overspending their 2025 budget. I'd just like to ask the state's attorney, what are our options here? I think there was a conversation that this was considered some type of misdemeanor.
If the additional appropriation doesn't get passed, then they would have a deficit. And then there would have to be a decision made. We'd have to look into how that, decision will come out as far as, discussing various facts and circumstances and if we can even make that recommendation or if we'd be conflicted out.
But isn't there, I know it wasn't you, I think it was Barb, but wasn't there I thought she said that this was considered a misdemeanor. Or what is the legal ramifications of overspending a budget?
The statute provides that an overspending, purposeful overspending could be a misdemeanor.
It's not necessarily.
Well, they would have to be charged based upon all the facts and circumstances.
Okay. So if we don't pay it, then if we don't approve this today, what happens?
Then they'd be over budget, they'd be deficit spent.
And then the next step in the process would be to determine if it is a misdemeanor?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, next I saw member Ozog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My first question, does this complete the 2025 budget for the clerk? Is there any other?
The question for the deputy clerk was who is here.
Okay, is there anything else out there that needs to be paid for 2025?
I'll ask the deputy clerk if there's any other bills coming.
To the best of our knowledge, this would close out fiscal year 2025. Not aware of any other expenses that would not be covered by this appropriation.
Okay, thank you. I will be in support of covering this money today because even if there was cause for a misdemeanor, I'm not willing to spend another dollar of legal funds on this case. So we need to pay their vendors, et cetera. So thank you.
Member Drajewski?
I think just to kind of ask the state's attorney again, I believe Barb Reynolds said it is a misdemeanor. It just depends whether the state's attorney or Lynn's office wants to go forward and file charges and then do the investigation, decide maybe there's not enough there to bring it or they don't want to bring it. That's up to the state's attorney and Bob or Lynn. But I think it is deficit spending according to the state's attorney was a misdemeanor. And clearly they could have worked within their budget. Maybe they didn't manage it correctly, but we are where we are.
Thank you. Member you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I remember that before they were asking for over $269,000 originally, and now this is for the amount of $76,000. So is there a specific vendor that this is going to? That this is the reason why we have this deficit of $76,000? I just want to know what this attributes to.
Do you want to answer? I think I know, but go ahead.
Sure. So at the time we made the initial request, those were for the outstanding bills that were either unpaid or projected for the rest of the fiscal year. And the $260,000 figure accounted for all those bills. Since that point, we have transferred money out of personnel. And then last meeting, the board appropriated another $69,000 to our office through the COLA adjustment. So take that 260, subtract the $69,000 that was appropriated last meeting, subtract the personnel money that was moved over, and this is the remaining deficit to pay. Actually, there's now some personnel expenses because we moved personnel money over to pay vendors, but the net amount left is the money that's being asked for in this request.
Thank you. So does that mean that whatever vendor that needed to be paid has already been paid?
Some of the vendors have been paid. We have one large bill outstanding to the poll book vendor. So out of that $260,000 of bills, all of the small ones and medium-sized ones have been paid through the transfers and the additional money that has been appropriated.
So I think I'm trying to understand is that if we don't pay the 76,000, does that mean that a specific vendor is not getting paid?
Correct.
Is there a specific consequence that happens if we do not fund the 76,000?
Well, the bill can't be paid without the money. I'm not going to speak to the
So there is a
consequence.
specific bill
Correct.
that this money is going to.
Correct.
From what I'm seeing, and you can clarify if I'm incorrect, $28,639 on this resolution is going toward the no ink contract. Is that correct?
I don't know the exact dollar amount, but that sounds in
That's,
the
I'm
general
looking at the
ballpark.
resolution right now. And the other $47,429 was for overtime temporary salaries.
Again, that sounds in the ballpark. I don't have those exact numbers.
Yeah, I
but
have
that's
them right
generally
here. It's on,
correct.
it's
Yeah.
in the resolution. So, okay, so then, and of course, the overtime and temporary salaries have already been paid out. The no wink is still waiting to be paid, the $28,639. So again, we're over budget on the overtime and the temporary salaries, again, because of the raises probably that we're giving in the beginning of the year. Is that correct?
I would not agree with that statement, no.
Okay, okay, I'm gonna let you answer that then, because that's what I'm feeling, that's what happened was you gave money out to raises in the beginning of the year. And then now we're over budget on the salaries.
So as previously stated, we had a significant surplus in personnel. So no, we would not agree that anything in the salaries has caused the office to go under budget. There was a lack of funding for the contractual outside expenses to vendors.
Okay. Next I had on the questions, do you have any more, member you? You're done? Okay, member Eckhoff, I believe was next.
I just had a question to the state's attorney. This is a possible misdemeanor charge. Why wouldn't this be referred to the attorney general like the other investigation was?
If my office is conflicted out, it would be referred to the Attorney General.
Well, you are conflicted out, right?
Most
Because that's
likely,
why the-
yes. Most likely, yes.
Then
So it would go to the Attorney General.
what can we have can we have it? Yeah, I know sometime next year or 2 years, but can we have it referred out? I mean, that's a decision I know Mr. Berlin has to make, but I don't know why we wouldn't refer this one out if we refer the other one out. Not that we'll find out anytime in my lifetime, but that's on them, not on you guys.
Right, and that is a decision that would be made above my pay grade.
All right, can somebody get back to me, us, the group, the clan? Thank you.
Any other new questions? If there was a member Ozog.
I just want to clarify my understanding of what happened at the beginning of last year, or end of last fiscal year. In December, early January, raises were given out. And those raises were not budgeted for. Is that correct?
So it's not.
Yes or no? It's a
not
yes or
correct to
no.
say the raises were not budgeted for.
They were not.
At the end of fiscal year 24, the clerk gave raises to staff. The pay rates set in 24 obviously carry over into fiscal year 25. The total amount allocated to the office for personnel for fiscal year 2025 was more than enough money to cover all the pay rates that were set in fiscal year 2024, as demonstrated by the fact that there was a significant surplus in personnel at the end of fiscal year 2025. So
But
yes,
is
the
it not
money
true?
budgeted for fiscal year 2025 was enough to cover the raises.
Then why did you come to us looking for $260,000?
Because there was not sufficient money appropriated for non-personnel expenses.
So it seems to me that would be a transfer, right? Which is what you've refused to do.
No, we transferred the surplus personnel money, and there still was not enough money for the non-personnel expenses, which is what we are before the board for today.
After the raises. Thank you.
Thank you, member Z.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I'm glad at least the deputy clerk's here. You know, the clerk did ask for 3 million additional dollars in their budget, said they couldn't run their office. So, I mean, I'm not happy for it, but it only coming to $76,000 seems to give us a little credence that our numbers are a little better than theirs. At least this isn't a $2 or $3 million hit at the end of the year. It's $76,000. Again, I don't know if we're gonna go to battle with this and go around in a circle and continue this saga going on. So, I mean, as it pains me to vote for it, I think I will vote for it so we can end this chapter for 2025.
Okay, thank you. Member Galassi?
Thank you. I'm just want to go on record that I'm voting no on this because I think it's a terrible precedent to be set. I think the budget process was incredibly difficult with the clerk's office. They did not participate. Whatever buckets he's referring to as far as personnel and equipment and other expenses, that was not a transparent process. This has been very frustrating all along. We warned them that they were going to go over budget. Here we are, they are over budget. I do not feel like I can vote for this because it would not be doing my job that I was elected to do and taking care of the taxpayers' money in a prudent fashion. So I'm voting no on this. We cannot set a precedent that elected officials can go over their budget. When they're given a budget, it is their responsibility to stick to that budget and not go into a deficit. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think part of my frustration also is that they didn't create a budget for us to look at. So that's kind of frustrating. So we're kind of going off what we could. Member you.
So I am, I'm just going to say that I am not, I think there should be consequences considering that they are over budget $76,068. On the other hand, just before this, we did an additional appropriation for the law library because they were over budget $227. So it's really the same thing other than the dollar amounts, obviously. So before they were asking for 269,000, now they're asking for 76. And like Member Zay, I would like to close this chapter out. I don't want to relitigate this issue. I don't want to make this redundant over and over. And I think it just goes to show that the importance of working with the finance department and providing a proper budget with all the line items so that we know exactly what should be in there and what should not. So I hope that going forward, clerk's office will do this for fiscal year 2026 and 27. Thank you.
Thank you, Member you. Member Tornatori?
I'd like to put this to bed too. My question is what happens if we don't?
I did ask that question. I don't know if Jennifer and Jeff, would you like to answer the question? If the money isn't given to the deputy clerk's office, what would happen? The overtime and temporary salaries have already been paid. People were paid. So it's just a negative in their thing, but I'll let you explain more clarity.
Financially speaking, if a department goes over budget, it'll be reported in our annual financial report. The county clerk and the county clerk's elections, when you combine them, will show that they went over budget. It's not significant, meaning it won't be reported in the notes. Only in the notes is it reported when a fund goes over budget. However, if departments go over budget, most likely Baker Tilly will put in our management letter of internal controls that a department was not in compliance budgetarily. So financially speaking, that's the effect.
Okay. So that's the accounting answer, but I guess maybe I misunderstood. The practical answer is, does somebody still need to get paid from this money?
Yes.
And if we don't give them the money, then presumably we won't get paid. Correct?
That's an important vendor. It's our poll book.
Yes.
So you are correct. So there's two parts to this additional appropriation. The personnel, which those have already been paid. So no personnel at DuPage County will not be paid in full. The second part of it is to pay off the outstanding invoice for No Inc. They have completed the work and they have not been paid. There's an outstanding invoice. And if this is not approved, that will be the impact. No Inc. will not be, their invoice will not be satisfied.
Okay, so they won't get paid. So that's what would happen if we vote no. Okay.
Be punishing the vendor. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if the vendor doesn't get paid, they do have a legal contract with the county, DuPage County. It's not just with the election division, correct? So
Ultimately, they did the work for DuPage County, whether it was, and I'm getting into how it was procured or anything. They did the work. They met their, assuming without saying the contract, they met their obligations and they're expecting to be paid.
So they, if it doesn't get paid, they could sue the county.
Absolutely, they
correct?
could.
Okay, thank you.
Member Krajewski.
269,000 of outstanding invoices. They made all these transfers and paid a bunch of them off except the last one, which is the whole book. So that they paid everything else, every other vendor but this one. So they made the decision not to pay this one and pay all the other ones.
I can,
Just to be clear, it wasn't a decision not to pay the vendor. The invoice is for considerably more than $28,000.
Oh, right.
That's-
That's some of
that's
the budget transfers.
That's
that were
the
done
amount
earlier.
that's needed. The invoice is over $100,000.
Have we paid, well.
That was some of the budget transfers from
pay
earlier, I think
everything,
was going
so
toward
we
that,
owe,
correct?
we owe more, but we only have enough to pay up to 79,000.
The 28,000 is what's left, right? Okay, can we get a roll call on this? Thank you.
All right. Member Cahill, Member Childress, Member Covert, Member Desart, Member Eckhoff, Member Evans, Member Galassi, Member Garcia,
Aye.
Member Heather, Member Honig, Member Krajewski, Member LaPlante, Member Martinez, Member Ozag, Member Schwarzy, Member Tornatori, Member Yu,
Aye.
Member Zay.
Gotta say something.
Aye.
It's 13 yeses and 3 nos. The motion passes. Okay, moving on to the next one. It's can I get a motion to receive and place on claims the informational, the wire transfers, the appointments, the grant proposal notifications, and I believe I can do the PRMS resolutions also. So we got a motion by Member Heather, second by Member Honig. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to our presentation. We got half an hour to go over this. Oh, this should be fun. 2025 fiscal projection summary, part B.
all right, this is a continuation from our discussion at the last finance meeting. If you can go next slide. Just to give you a little bit of a refresher, what can be used for. You know, obviously we can't use it for anything operational. Down payments, upcoming already approved obligations, one-time consideration, can't do operational. So it doesn't result in a structural deficit, reducing pressure on future budget years. That's what Member Krajewski was kind of talking about before. We are talking about 9.73 million today. Next slide. This is the only slide of the presentation, really. And so nice and easy, 9.37 or 9.73. The first half was what the list that I had brought up before. The second list on the right side were what I have heard from, you know, through that from members, through discussions, and, you know, you can allocate all of the 9.7, you can allocate none of the 9.7 or something in the middle, whatever you as a board want. Whatever you do not allocate will roll directly into our fund balance or reserve account. So we are looking to see if there is consensus for one or more items to move forward, and whatever consensus we get, we will bring forward on the next one for allocating those funds. So I have heard from a number of individuals, the one that seems like most individuals are in favor of would be an addition to tort liability. I have heard that from a number of people, but opening for however you want to proceed.
Okay, I'm gonna move Member Eckhoff first.
I just had a question that I forgot to ask you 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the historical museum repairs.
Yeah.
I thought we had an agreement with them that we split those repair costs 50-50. You had said they were only supposed to pay 10%.
Not 50-50. We own the building, the envelope,
Right.
everything in there. they have agreed to, if there is any money that this board, as last year, you as a board put some money toward the historical museum, they are able to put 10% of their own funds, so they'll match 10% of whatever we put in.
All right, but what I'm saying is 20
There-
years ago, 20, whenever, we made this agreement that they could move in, operate the museum, but have their administrative offices there.
Yeah.
I thought that written document said
I
50-50.
again, I don't think there's a 50-50. It was for specific projects at the time. I think ongoing, it's our responsibility, but I will verify. I will absolutely verify. That is a very
And you'll
old
come back and tell the entire board if I'm right.
Absolutely.
But if I'm
Absolutely.
wrong, just bury it.
Yeah.
Okay. Member LaPlante next.
Thank you, Chair. Like we talked about 2 weeks ago, I just would love to have that, some of the things that we've discussed in executive session for budgeting to be brought forth and discussed openly. I just want to make sure that I understand the reason we were in executive session, but when we are putting aside millions of dollars, I think it does need to be discussed in the plan, gone over publicly. And then I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier, which is, the rainy day is here. So I just want to make sure that instead of thinking last meeting, we were told that this would make budgeting easy for future boards. I really don't want that to be our focus right now. I want to make sure that we are absolutely well equipped to make quick decisions currently in the present.
To that point, I've
Mhm.
heard from a number, and to be fair, I've heard from a number of board members with the uncertainty. That second one on the right side, the additional sustainability initiative fund,
Mhm.
I've heard that being something exactly for what you're saying, for the unknown right
Mhm.
now. So that's, I've heard from a number of people for that as well.
Great. I just want to make that really clear. I think our focus should be right now and not on the unknowable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Member LaPlante. I've got Member Ozark next.
Thank you. I'd like some clarification about the Hinsdale Lake Terrace project. I see 1.7 million, and is that including the ride share element?
So you as a board today set aside the $1 million for Hinsdale Lake Terrace. The remaining portion of that is 1.75, and that 1.75 is the sidewalks, the lighting, that takes us through. And if you remember, DOT is the one constructing that.
Right.
We have, and it's my understanding, come on up here, the ride share for the rest of this year, the ride share portion, if you want to.
Is covered, and this is real infrastructure, lighting, sidewalks, et cetera.
Yeah.
I mean, total infrastructure.
Yeah, a brief summary for the board. We're spending about $500,000 on the ride share annually. Okay, so what we had hoped was less than that, plus money for infrastructure, all went to operating that in 2025. So we have another $500,000 to operate 2026. The sidewalk and lighting project's about $2.5 million. We have a Safe Routes to School grant, and there's a desire by Congress to give us an additional earmark to cover some of that. The 1.75 is what's left after that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Ozog. Member Gajewski?
Briefly, I think we can move things from enterprise fund to enterprise fund, I assume, right? So, I mean, we just put these in enterprise buckets, and then next year we can decide to take something out of the parking infrastructure, whatever, and move it over to community sustainability.
This is by no means the end all be all vote for this.
Right. So, I mean, I just think, one, we should put some money into the IT technology fund, whatever, like we do for vehicle replacements. We're going to be replacing some of this technology over years. And I assume in next year's budget, we could take out of there for our computer software, et cetera, that we don't have to spend and then create some.
What Member
excess money
Krajewski,
there.
we had discussed what he's talking about. You all know, and you saw today, the HR ERP that we've been replacing. Unfortunately, once we're done with that, as much as we don't want to, and it pains us, we're gonna have to move right into finance ERP, because the current system we have is end of life in 2030. And it will take us years to implement a new ERP system. And what he's talking about is the unknown. We do have some money set aside for it, but it's gonna be more than what and so that's what Member Krajewski is talking about, is a technology fund. We know there's an obligation for the finance ERP, and we know our current system is end of life 2030.
I would put a dollar amount there, and then any really community sustainability, a lot of people are concerned about what if there's cuts here, because we can use that money in that community sustainability for kind of pretty much anything out for the community. So just put a bunch more in there. We can decide later what it's used for, whether it's economic development probably fits in that bucket, or it could be more food insecurity, or it could be more of whatever, anything for the community, the small grants, if some of the members might bring it back, but it's just sitting there to allow us to do something currently. It doesn't affect our current year budget.
Without a doubt, that is your most probably powerful bucket.
I would throw some more into, maybe the one we just voted on today, the county infrastructure fund. I see up there, campus gun violence memorial, that could potentially come out of that fund. I'd like to see us explore potential daycare at that empty wing over there for employees here. Again, to build out, it could come out of the infrastructure county fund. So and we can move them between funds next year if we decide there's more than one and less than another, but we just put them in these various buckets and then have the more detailed conversations of programs like some of the ones up there, if we want to use those buckets to pay for them. That's it. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Krajewski. Member Honig.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I do think paying down the tort liability fund is important, I do think that if we really want to stretch the dollar now where it's most important, I will have to agree with some of my colleagues that, providing additional money to the sustainability fund that will in turn, help with food insecurity, affordable housing, will go a long way right now. And so, there are a lot of good things out there, and I think that we can have a more in-depth conversation, but I think all things related to feeding people in our communities, making sure that affordable housing is really reaching to where we're wanting it to go, to really make it affordable to people who live and work in this county. So I'm definitely for adding some money to the tort liability, but definitely if we're gonna really put more money in this from the surplus, I really do think a good amount of it should go into those pots of additional sustainability. So
and a little bit on the tort liability. The tort liability is a big blanket fund that pays a lot. That pays all of our insurance funds that we have. It pays all of our settlements that happen. It pays, workforce safety training for that. It is that fund has been very important to this county because we have had settlements over the years that were able to be paid for out of that fund. And it is definitely been advantageous to have it. So I would definitely recommend some addition to tort liability.
Yeah.
Because the settlements are getting larger and larger every year. There's no way around that.
Agreed.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Member Galassi.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, I thought I recall from the last time we were discussing this, the ROE, and I think there was one other one was a loan.
Yeah, ROE. So, and that's, Member LaPlante brought it up, and I can talk about it right now. The reason why ROE was in executive session, because we were negotiating on a specific property. That property fell through. That's why we can talk about it right now in open session. Acquisition of land is absolutely allowed in executive session, and that's why we did it. But that fell through. So what it is ROE they're going to put a good portion of their money, but they were looking for a loan from the general fund of up to 2.5 million. Are we going to move forward? And I mean, we don't know where it's going to go right now because we have no land identified. But on today's agenda, we have an agent to help them look out there to see what's available. We can talk about it now because we have no specific property.
Right.
That would simply be a loan. That's it.
Right. So I guess I want to just say I'm fully supportive of this project. I just still don't totally understand why we have to earmark a loan value.
You don't. I gave options out here.
Okay.
We have done the loan before, and you
can't we just loan it out
of reserve?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That would be my recommendation.
And you've done it for the Children's Advocacy Center. You've done it for animal services, and you've done it for some areas over in judicial over there. So it's very common. We've done it among others rather than having.
I just wanted to make that point that since our reserve is so high, I don't think we need to earmark loan amounts. So Yeah, okay,
And this,
thank you.
this stuff's far beyond 9 million. We wanted to put every option that we've even heard of this year for you guys to see in front of you.
Okay, thank you for that response. And then two other comments I want to make. While I fully support the Campus Gun Violence Memorial, I did make the comment in Public Works that I believe strongly that that should be looked into a fundraising option for that, as opposed to asking taxpayer dollars to go to that project, because I think that would get the community more engaged and just make that more meaningful if we got the community involved. So that's my comment on that. And then economic development, I just want to state that we are in this position, well, partially because our sales tax was, so above budget over the last year. And, the sales tax did amazing things last year. So to continue to invest in economic development, to make sure that we see an upward trajectory with our sales tax, to me is very important. And, if we don't continue to reinvest in those types of projects, we may not continue to see an increase in sales tax. So that's why I'm fully supportive of doing something in an economic development fund.
And if the board wants to go economic development, the recommendation would be to, as Member Krajewski said, the additional sustainability initiative fund. You put it in there, and then that's a fairly powerful fund that you have the ability as a board to make that decision.
Okay, thank you, Member Colossi. Member Childers. Microphone. Microphone.
What's on the right side? Is that, do we need to vote to move it over to the left side?
No. So when you see what the side that starts with DOT maintenance garage on down, that's what you saw 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
The list to the right is based upon conversations with this board, what I've heard during that meeting. These are ideas, additional ideas. All of these are just ideas. There is nothing there. If there's a consensus on anything or even things not on there, would just be to give staff consensus on anything you as a board agree with, and we will bring it forward for putting that money in the right place at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Childers. Member Dessart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that Member Ozak asked a question about the Hinsdale Lake Terrace programs, and I'm not clear on this. My question is, so today we just appropriated $1 million. So now is that figure down to 750,000?
No.
Or you're asking for another $1,750,000?
The 1.75 is what is left out there after that million.
And so I'm sorry, just real quickly then, what is the $1 million we approved today going for? And then what is the 1.75?
If nothing, so we had to, let me back up to 25 again. We had originally in our budget $100,000 for the ride share. And
sure.
And we were short.
So it's part of the ride share then?
The board had already given us $500,000 for both parts of that project, ride share plus infrastructure. We put it all into ride share. We needed another $500,000 to do 26. So $500,000 of that million is going to the 26 ride share.
So the $1 million we approved today, half of it's for ride share.
It has
ride share. And the other half is for, I heard you say 250,000 for sidewalks?
Yeah, so 2.5 million for sidewalks and lighting. And that's a very preliminary estimate. My guess is it'll be a little higher than that.
Okay.
So 2.5 million, we have the only thing we have committed besides what the board has given us is a $250,000 Safe Routes to School grant.
Okay.
All right, so we have the $1 million from the board that we can split between the two parts of that project. So anything we don't spend on the ride share, we'll put into infrastructure, provided we don't continue the program forever. Right?
Yeah, and I've been on the wagon from the very, very beginning about supporting this area. So I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, so it right now, that $1 million, half of it's going to go to ride share.
Okay.
500,000 presumably would go for infrastructure at this point, plus the 250. So that cuts it down to the 1.75 total.
And if this board would like to finish the infrastructure down there, we would need an additional 1.75 million. But if you
this
don't
1.7 or additional?
No, this 1.75.
Okay, cool.
This would finish the infrastructure. If the board doesn't approve it, we will build with what money we have and end there. And then we will have a portion of it built.
Okay. And My other question is, I am a broken record on this, and I don't know why it's not on the right side of this, because I've mentioned it almost every meeting for 4 weeks. And that is the small nonprofit grants. And I would like to appropriate, or at least put it on the right side for discussion, 2.7 million, which gives each district $150,000. Now, we're talking about a lot of these members have talked about loaves and fishes not supporting all of DuPage County. And these small business grants are not business. I said business because of Member Krajewski. These small nonprofit grants help our individual districts. They stay within the district. So I'd like to see it up on the right side, at least for discussion.
The one thing I would say, as far as small, there's been a lot of discussion over the past 6 months on that, the small nonprofits. ARPA interest, we still have 2 years of theoretically that program. Now, there was a discussion to end that program, but that money is still sitting there. You have $1,050,000 per year sitting there. So you have 2.1 million in ARPA interest that is still available to this board. We have to have that discussion at some point in the future, but I don't know if you need this and that.
Okay, well, Member Schwarzy keeps reminding me that this board, the consensus was to give all that money to food insecurity.
And if that's where the board would like
That
to
was the
go,
consensus.
and that's, yeah, so
So anyway, that's why I'd like to see it up on the right side, because the consensus of the board was to put that ARPA money into food insecurity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Unless that's changed. Maybe that's changed. I don't know.
Okay, Member Heather?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in favor of almost everything that's on that list. I am very excited to see money going towards economic development. I think that's a really good idea for us to put money back into our communities to help small businesses and other initiatives. That's awesome. Also, again, for the uncertainties that might be coming our way in the future, adding money to additional sustainability initiative fund is a great idea. But I'm most excited about the item that is employer childcare assistance. I think that's really important for us to make sure we make a priority to support the childcare assistance program. And so I'm very happy to see this. Could you shed a little bit more light on how will we decide what that amount is going to look like?
So
it says flexible right now.
The employer childcare assistance, Member Krajewski brought this up and I only feel strongly about it. A little bit of history, we have looked at bringing daycare for our employees here on campus previously. It was decided way back then that it is absolutely not economically feasible to do it, but we will look at it again. Okay. The liability was far too great, and that's why they backed out. We talked about the south wing of the care center. It's economically, it's a very expensive building to rehab, the south wing. We'll look at it. We'll see if there's options. It's not an easy fix. We are going to look and see, are there options maybe that don't involve us having childcare, but maybe we have a contract with an outside firm. We will look at that. There is no easy solution. This was looked at previously. It's a very good concept. I'm sure our employees would be very excited about it, but I do have to look at it from a standpoint of liability, and I will report it to this board and you guys can make that decision. My recommendation is there anything that I can do in 26 with this? Probably not. So maybe there will be, I don't know. We'll look at it. We'll look at it, but will the funds be put to use in 26? If we build something, no. If we contract with outside companies, maybe yes.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Okay, and last I'm going to take maybe not. Member you, and then last Evans.
Sorry, I thought I raised my hand early on. Are you going first?
Member you first, then Evans.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, so I'm actually going to echo a couple of what members have already stated. I actually really think it is important to put additional money into the finance ERP just because our payroll ERP has taken a long time. There have been delays and it's been expensive. So the county infrastructure fund is something that I think is really important to put additional funds into. The technology reserve fund, obviously, because Even today, we talked about Zendesk licensing and how we need to do increases, how AI is extremely expensive, co-pilot licenses are expensive, and these are all things that we want to have at the county to really improve government services. So the Technology Reserve Fund is something that I really care about as well. Now, according to, I think, some of our needs assessments that we've done at the county, and also with data and statistics from WorkNet DuPage, I think we have seen over and over that the reason why people are underemployed or are unemployed or cannot get out of poverty is because they have lack of transportation and lack of childcare. And that is two main things that people need in order to work, to go back to school, to get upskilling, to get work training, to really go down those career pathways. So if there is a way to have that money in economic development, or even to put it within the Additional Sustainability Initiative Fund, I am all for this. And I know that I am biased as chair of the Economic Development Committee, and Member Galassi and Member Krajewski have talked about economic development too. Member Martinez, who's not here but who is on the Economic Development Committee, has repeatedly asked for additional help for small businesses, and I think that's something important to do as a child of small business owners. I think if there's a way that we can continue to help small businesses in our county, all the better. The employer child care assistance, this is something that it's been percolating in my mind since a long time ago when when Chair Garcia and I visited Easter Seals. If we could do a public-private partnership with such organizations, because they have a preschool, pre-K program, and they had to close down, I think, 4 rooms because of lack of funding. And Easter Seals was doing an amazing job providing childcare in the community. So if that is something that we can also look into, wonderful. And all this really helps economic development. And we've said over and over about sales tax revenue being so high, and that is because we have a thriving economy. But if we want to continue to have a thriving economy, we have to do these investments into economic development. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Owens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to weigh on a few things that I see up here. Number one, I also support childcare assistance. However, having kids was the most stressful part of being a working mom. And it was very difficult when I worked here at the county, because every summer, childcare is not that hard, but every summer I had all 3 kids needing childcare, and I had to drive way out of the way to drop them off at a summer camp or at a childcare center, and then pick them up after work. Like at College of DuPage offered one, and they hated it so much I had to pull them out and hire a nanny. But that's beside the point. I think a good compromise would be to have use a space for a summer camp. And, KinderCare offers a program where they come into the schools and they offer before and after school childcare, and the needs for a summer camp are much lower than the needs. You don't have to have the licenses to change diapers or anything like that. I don't think that might take off more stress, more pressure. So if we have this space, maybe we can have a KinderCare or another company like that come in and run something.
We will absolutely look. We're looking at third parties and how that looks. I mean, it's obviously a much deeper dive. I will tell you that the South Wing totally rehabbed, because we've looked at it for other purposes. Now, this would be all the floors. There's a $20 million rehab. So it's not cheap. There's a lot that we're looking at, and that's why it might not pay to do that. It might pay for a third party. We're looking at all the options.
Okay, yeah, I don't want the county to be in the business of running a childcare. I don't think it's a good idea.
The sole reason it wasn't done, and I mean, we're talking 20 years ago, the liability was through the roof for the county, and that's not obviously our primary purpose. And that liability could distract from our primary purpose. And that's why they decided. I wasn't part of that decision, but I know that there was a lot of discussion.
Okay, but I'll say that I think taking the pressure off families, even just for the summer, that seems to be the hardest part for a lot of parents. And mine was $800 per week for 3 kids 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was $800 per week.
It's a lot more now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, that's something where that was more than my salary. I had to pay for, I had to split it with my ex-husband, but I had to take money out of savings and budget for that every summer because it was more than what I was making. So, so I do definitely support childcare assistance for you know, we have a lot of stormwater issues in District 3, so it's something that maybe we could put up there for additional stormwater projects that are in the works. I know we're doing a master plan for Sawmill Creek.
And I will tell you that if there is ever, and stormwater, I mean, I work very closely with Sarah, and if there's a need that comes up, we have no problem coming to this board to saying, we have a need. I don't know, and Sarah, you can come up there. Is there any immediate needs you have right now? I think we've been fairly successful. The board is funded pretty well, but if there's a project that comes forward, we have no problem coming before this board to make the pitch.
Okay, wonderful.
So we're a little bit early on that.
Okay, okay. You know, for the Star Chase, I did see a proposal for it. Star Chase is meant for more like long distance vehicle chases, and I would like to get more information on whether or not the sheriff has these long distance vehicle chases before spending that kind of money. I don't think they do that a whole lot, and I know they've talked about having it and then sharing it with other communities possibly, but that's not really the way this works in these vehicles.
I would defer to Member Zay on that one. I know he talked to the sheriff on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of that is not to have long chases. That's what the purpose of it is, but.
Correct, but I
Again,
don't
we
think
we
they
can discuss
chase.
that future.
Okay, I don't think they chase a whole lot. So I don't know that that would be appropriate. I would like more information before giving any kind of consensus for
It
that.
sounds like we need a lot more information, a lot of stuff.
Right.
We're almost running out of time, so I don't want to cut you off, but I know there's one more person after you, and then we've got to get a
Okay,
consensus.
so I'll
on
just
something.
say I also support economic development and an IT enterprise fund. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Evans. Quick one, Member Zay.
Wait, we're not voting on anything today, right?
Well, I was gonna try to get a
I mean,
consensus on a couple of them.
Can't we, again, like I talked about, I mean, everybody's got big hearts here and everybody has ideas. Some of this we seem to be straying from our core ideas. People come up with ideas. I mean, we had a District 6 meeting the other day, and I thought I'd never hear this from the mayor of Wheaton, where he said, have we ever looked at using the fairgrounds with pads for temporary housing during cold spells like this? I mean, I thought never that Wheaton would ever allow us to do that. They're asking for that. So we have things that come up.
Yeah,
Again, I think we can
absolutely.
put these in the buckets and then.
Well, that's what I would like to.
One by their merits as we go through. I mean, it's just, we can't.
I think the only one we've gotten any kind of consensus on, or at least we've heard from, is the tort liability. So I was going to get a show of hands on the tort liability and see if we have a consensus
I mean,
on
even
that.
the campus gun violence, we still have money in the Public Works Fund for the downstairs for the historical thing that we haven't done.
Right, that's
So
what
at
I'm
least
thinking. A lot of
transfer
this can go into the a sustainability initiative fund, and we can take it out of that. I know that was the vice chair. She wants to either put it in reserves or something, but I think it'll be better in the sustainability initiative fund. So we might want to just put everything except for a couple of these items that I think we can discuss tonight.
So Jeff just told me, I mean, if we do nothing, it'll go into reserve, which is fine. But we are running out of time because we need the last one. We need to bring it and put it in the buckets. You are not making a decision on how to spend this money at all.
Right.
You're simply putting in the buckets, and then you as a board having an additional vote and discussion on this one. So
I just want to get a consensus on the tort liability.
1.5 million.
1.5 million. If we can raise our hands, if everybody's in favor or whoever's in favor of the tort liability, raise your hand. Okay, anybody against? Okay, consensus has that one, so we're gonna go with that. The other one I think is we've got a lot of consensus with the Hinsdale Lake Terrace Sidewalks Program. Is anyone in consensus of that? Raise your hand. Okay, so that's $1.75 million. I think the rest of them, I think everything else of what I'm hearing at the discussion level here, because there's so much more information needed on every single other item, is to go into the Sustainable Initiative Fund, and then we can go pull from there as we get more information on those. Is anybody else in?
So the one, so here's the one thing. So it looks like you as a
Split with infrastructure?
I split it between
Okay.
Additional sustainability and infrastructure, and then that would be you parked it there, and then you guys can pull it out.
Okay, who is consensus of splitting the rest of the money between the Sustainability Initiative Fund and then what was the other one? It was the county infrastructure. Real quick one.
So anything for economic development would be under the sustainability.
Correct. Okay, so anybody, all in consensus of splitting it between those two things, just raise your hand. I think we have a consensus, so now I know where the money is going. So thank you. I think we're gonna have a lot more discussions on each of these individual items as we need them. We'll take them out of their additional buckets, as we say. Is there any old business for today? Any new business? Member Krajewski.
Just one quick one. This wasn't a money issue, but I think we should take a look at least from policy standpoint. I mentioned it before about we have employees that get long-term illnesses, have to go for cancer, radiation, et cetera. And so we ask other employees to donate their vacation time, sick time. I think the county should look at putting a bank of our own together. It's not a financial burden. It's just would be person that if they get granted that,
okay,
they just don't work. So
we can bring that up at another meeting and
bring it
stuff.
up as new business just to discuss it in the future.
We've done
Okay.
analysis on that, so when we have a time available.
We'll put that on like their next agenda. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Do we make a motion? Make a motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor?